Welcome to Going In Blind. I'm your host, Zach Tidwell, and my guest today turned his entire life around after a brutal knife attack almost took everything from him. Please welcome Dave Murphy. And to everyone at home, thank you for listening. Please take a second to help me grow the show so that I can keep delivering these conversations week after week for years to come. Subscribe, rate, and review the show in whatever podcasting app you're using right now, and check out the show notes to follow me on social media and YouTube as well. When you share your favorite episodes, tag me and use the hashtag GoingInBlind. You can also join my mailing list at zachtidwell.net. And if you know someone you think I should talk to, have them send me an email at contact.goinginblind@gmail.com. All right, Dave, I told you a second ago, I want to get right into this. You were the victim of an attack 20 plus years ago now that completely changed the trajectory of your life. And so can you take us back to 1994?
Yeah, for sure. So it was about 9 o'clock at night. I'm walking outside a pretty high traffic mall in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And I got approached by three guys, and they were saying some pretty nasty things, and I didn't know it was going to turn into an altercation. And one of them came at me. I didn't see a knife, but I tried the best to defend myself. At that time, I didn't know much about that. I'd never been in any sort of fight since like grade 5 over a girl, but
That's the best way to get into a fight. Yeah.
so I just started to try and defend myself. But one guy was behind me, one was on the side, and I felt some punches. I started to walk away, and I looked at my hand. It was completely red from holding my leg, and they had got me with a knife 13 times. Two pretty severe wounds in my left leg that severed the muscle, and then 9 times on my back. And pretty much everything is blurry after that. I remember waking up in the hospital.
When you say they were saying nasty things, were they were just talking shit?
Yeah, like, do you want to go? I wasn't a big guy then. I was still 6 feet tall, but just wrong neighborhood, wrong time. 3 guys looking to cause some shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were there other people around? You're still here, so was it busy there and this just happened, or what were the surroundings like? Do you even remember?
I remember lying on the ground in a mall parking lot, like a overhead parkade, and just all kinds of people standing around. Excuse me. I remember a woman. This is kind of freaky, but I remember this lady just holding my hand, and she had this glow about her, and she got in the ambulance with us. And I remember when I woke up in the bed, I was like, said to my parents and my brother, I'm like, where's that lady that was in the ambulance with me? I want to say thank you. And all the staff was like, there was nobody in there.
I just got the chills, dude. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. That's wild. I know we've like briefly touched on this stuff when you and I have talked offline, when we first connected a couple months ago, but that is eerie. Have you ever seen her again since?
No, I remember some pretty weird things that night. I remember almost like watching a PowerPoint of all, it was every birthday since I was 5, and I was blowing up my birthday candles, and then like family being around and stuff. I remember seeing my 2 grandfathers. They were just staring at me with their arms folded, and one of them just shook his head like no, and then I woke up. So
Wow.
lots of crazy things happened that night. I've never really talked about.
Have you ever thought of why it started at 5? Like, was that a big year? Is there something in your life that stands out to you from being 5 years old, or that's just the way that it happened?
It's just my first memory I have. My first memory is when I was 5, walking to school, and I remember skipping off my first day of kindergarten because I had these slippers.
What?
We had to wear slippers, and they looked like a checkerboard. I was afraid that people were going to play checkers on my feet, so I went home. So that's my first memory that I have. And I don't know, maybe that's why it started there. But
That's so adorable.
so,
That is freaking adorable. But when you were talking about a like a covered parkade, is you're talking like the multi-level kind of parking structure kind of things that
yeah,
we okay.
yeah.
So did they, I mean, did they steal your car? Did they rob you?
No, I was just walking home from a mall. Me and my friends used to go and just hang out at the mall. Wasn't much to do back then, and sit around chat. And I'm like, okay, I'm walking home, and I was just walking out of the parking lot, and that's when these guys approached me.
Wow. How old were you at the time?
Would have been 18.
It's so young. I mean, that is your, I mean, were you out? Had you gotten out on your own yet, or were you still in high school?
I had just finished high school, and I was just before I went, a year before I went to college, I just started working at a warehouse delivering furniture and stuff. So I was taking a break before I figured out what I wanted to do.
It's so wild because I don't think I realized that you were that young when this happened, but I've been thinking about this and how it did, and the stuff that we're about to get into with how it did totally change your life, as anyone can imagine would be a reasonable thing to happen after an event like that. But it made me thankful, and it's not, I don't like ruminate. I don't have issues. I don't struggle with the fact that I'm blind. I just, I've had that time and I've processed it. But, like at least in me shooting myself and having had to adjust to everything, I was not the victim of anything. So I haven't had any lingering, okay, this has changed my worldview of things and had me on alert going anywhere and everywhere. And I don't feel like I have to live with keep taking a peek over my shoulder at all times because of someone else almost killing me. I mean, I mind my P's and Q's because I'm blind and that looks like an easy target to people. That's why I do jujitsu. But like it's hard to understand what that would be like. And I know a lot of veterans, obviously being a veteran, and that's so I know a lot of guys with PTSD and them talking about this, but I just I don't know that I've ever gone into a granularity in discussing those things with these guys because it's a little different. I feel like actually, as I'm saying that, it's probably not. I mean, I try and walk a fine line, especially if I don't know someone. If I meet another veteran who's a combat vet and I know has been through stuff, like I recently had a former Dev Crew Navy SEAL on here named Monty Heath. He's got two Bronze Stars with a V for, which means that they were awarded for actions in combat. And like a guy like that I don't know that I'm talking to, I will not ask about combat because that is, I'm not a combat vet. I'm not going to try and elicit that from someone. And that's what I just realized. We're like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be doing this with you, but you and I have talked about this offline and we have a little rapport here. And I feel, I made sure that it was okay to bring this stuff up with you, but like, I don't think I've ever dug into the granularity because of that, me not being a combat vet, not wanting to pull that out of these guys or broach a subject where I don't feel, I don't feel like that would be right of me to do, I guess. And so, yeah, with you, I mean, I know that the struggles were years long and took you down a pretty rough path. I mean, from how long were you in the hospital and then start just, I guess, kind of taking and walking us down the road of how the the PTSD from all of this totally shifted things for you, especially at such a young age.
Well, I got to tell you, I was in the hospital for about a week, and then I was on my couch for about 4 months. But those 4 months were pretty great. I'll tell you why. I mean, I'm 18 years old, and I had all these bandages that had to be changed 3 times a day. So every day I would get a different college nurse come in to change these bandages.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, man, who am I? It kind of turned into, who am I getting today? And it was just like, it kind of made light of the whole situation. So I really didn't leave my house for about 4 months, but that was my little treat. What the,
You got
they're
hot
all,
nurses coming in every throughout the
well, they're all,
day.
you're like 18 years old, and there's these like 20-year-old college nurses coming in every day, three times a
Yeah.
day. And, but the first time I went out, and I think my brother would take me for a drive. I was in the back seat and I had my crutches, and because I had basically had to learn how to walk again because my left leg was totally not functional. I couldn't even bend it. So what I would do when I was watching TV, every commercial break, I'd just try and bend my leg another inch. And it was the weirdest thing ever, man, trying to learn how to walk on that again. But
So was it your hamstring that they just totally severed?
um, whatever in my top upper left thigh, so that was cut into two places. And the paramedic that saved my life, she actually held the tendon of my leg together long enough that they were able to save it. And we'll get into this later, but we're really good friends still today. She's an
Yeah,
amazing woman.
I wanted to broach that later for sure. I
Yeah, for
mean,
sure.
that the story in and of itself and you guys reconnecting is insane.
But yeah, just want to, because these guys were from Somalia, and for the longest time, whenever I'd see anyone that looked like them, because they're pretty distinctive looking, I just go into this rage. But and I didn't know what that was. I didn't know how to deal with it. But I remember my brother driving down the road, and I threw one of my crutches out of the car at a group of them, and he's like, "Dude, what the hell are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know." But so then when I moved out and started college, that's when I really didn't know how to deal with panic attacks and PTSD, and like, so I just go drink, and I get like blackout drunk 5, 6 nights a week.
This is how, I mean, this is like this is basically like post recovery, like you almost fall into that kind of immediately in those months following.
Yeah, it was like maybe a year and a half after the incident when I was walking in. I couldn't walk more than like a mile without leg cramps and stuff. But um, as a college student, the only reason I was able to afford to drink that night because there were pubs that had specials like 25-cent draft or
Which sounds so insane, dude. That's so cheap.
so it was pretty easy. So when I was around friends and just I'd forget. But then when I go home or back to my apartment and it was just me, that's when things would get really dangerous. And that led me down some really dark thoughts sometimes, but I'm still here. But yeah, overall, it was about 2 years to be able to walk normally. And then it affected me for at least another 20 years because I was lazy and I didn't do anything.
So did you end up finishing your degree and entering the workforce? Were you staying with your parents? In that timeline, like those couple of years there, you get back into college, were you just in a shell basically for 20 years and just kind of drinking things away?
Well, what I did, I've had a business diploma and I started working with that. And then a friend of mine who's on the other side of the country, kind of like the distance from New York to LA, he's like, man, you gotta come out here. It's like booming. There's so much work. You can make double what you're making there. So I needed a change, and I just packed up my shit and moved out west to Alberta from Ontario. And that's when the drinking got really bad because I missed my family. I regretted the decision, and it was just God, at least 10 years of just straight drinking 5 nights a week and just partying and karaoke and singing and being stupid.
Yeah, and I mean, that had already become your coping mechanism. So of course, when there's more discomfort, then I'm going to lean into my coping mechanism more.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then I kind of had it under control, and in 2014, my ex-wife was 8 months pregnant, and we were moving on a fourth floor apartment building with no elevator. And I couldn't find anyone to help me because everybody was hungover or whatever. All my drinking friends didn't want to do anything in a day. So I was moving boxes up and down by myself for at least an hour. I was just gassed. And these three guys that lived in the same building, they were Somalian. Um, they started walking towards me, and I was like, "Oh shit, here we go." I thought they were gonna fight me. And he looks me right in the eye. He's like, "Hey, man, do you want some help?" And him and his two buddies, they helped me for the next hour, and I was done. So it was my big wake up call to maybe go get some help for this shit.
Are there a lot of Somalis in Canada? Is that like a common thing? Or this just was a coincidence?
No, in Ontario, well, in Ottawa at that time, that was, I mean, there's people from all over the world everywhere now in Canada, but
Yeah.
the place where the incident happened, the part of town that I was in was very about 90% Somalians.
Whoa. Okay. And so this is there obviously there's that pivotal moment at a kind of a key time because I know you've expressed, I mean, a very, I would say like a cornerstone of your story or the next phase of your story that I've heard you talk about and that we've talked about again when we've just kind of communicated over the past couple months here is your daughter coming into the world. But that almost seems like it set the stage for it's like it was like you almost needed like a close on that chapter before the next one started with your daughter coming in. Before we get into that, so I meant to ask you this earlier. I was thinking about this, and you seem we don't know each other very well, but in the interactions that we have, you seem like just a very, very sweet person. Do you feel like you lost that in those years where you like this? Is this something that has recently resurfaced? Was that replaced with anger? Were you getting into fights? Were you outside of the drinking? I mean, was your personality different while you were really struggling with this stuff more?
No, out of every friend I had, there was only one friend that saw the sad clown. But I was just like, I get on karaoke and I do impersonations or just stupid shit, and people would laugh, and it was kind of my escape, right? For some reason, I found that I could do an impersonation of Shaggy, not the guy from Scooby Doo, like the singer Shaggy.
Yeah.
And every time I go to karaoke, everyone's like, "Man, do that Shaggy," and it was kind of an escape. Like I wasn't violent. I never got into fights. Um, I never actually got in a fight until I had some boxing sparring when I started that years later. But yeah, I was never violent. I've always been a good person. It's just my soul was kind of destroyed for a while. And like you just said, man, when my daughter come along, she saved my life without a doubt.
And because you had obviously the alcohol is going on and you weren't taking care of yourself physically. You'd gotten close to 400 pounds, right?
Yeah, I was 392 on my heaviest. I used to order a family meal from KFC and watch the show The Biggest Loser, which is kind of ironic, but
That is so, the irony there is so funny.
and you got a giant chicken wing in your mouth, like someday that's gonna be me, and then you pop
Yeah.
out. But
Well, have you ever seen Dodgeball? You know that
yes,
movie.
yeah,
It's like
just
when
like him at
Ben,
the end of that
yeah,
movie.
it's like when he gets fat and he's just sad and eating off a chest plate and whatever. So I mean, there's so your daughter comes along. What's that shift? Is it I don't have kids. I hear people talking about whether it's, my own parents or just anyone that I know who has parents like that. Love is a different kind of love that you have. Is that what drove this shift? Was it an immediate thing? How does all that kind of
It
start
was a
taking place?
combination of those three guys helping me, and then about a month before she was born, I'm like, man, I got to go talk to someone because this, the temper you have, the PTSD, because I didn't want anything setting me off that I hadn't seen yet. So I'm like, I got to go get my mind right before I'm responsible for another kid. And so I went to therapy 3 times. I tried some weird shit, man. There was this lady, she was, I don't know, snapping her fingers in front of my face and moving her hands back and forth. I'm like, what the heck is this?
So
So,
like EMD, what is it? I think the EMDR. No, that's not right. There's a rapid eye movement thing. It's
yeah,
like is that what they were trying to do?
I think so.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I tried that a few times, but then when she came along, the biggest change was I wasn't drinking to escape anymore, but I'd still go out once every few weeks and just, you know, still get pretty intoxicated, but it wasn't an escape anymore. It was just go out and party with friends once every few weeks. But then that got less and less frequent to the fact that I'd then only get drunk on my birthdays every year in August. And, I'd still have the odd beer or two here if I go out with a friend or something, but it was,
It was a healthy relationship with alcohol again.
it was. And then starting the gym in maybe 2018 when she was 4, that's when I started a gym. We were at a playground just about maybe a mile from my house. And she's like, Dad, let's race home. Let's race home. And with my leg and still being almost 400 pounds, I had to look at her and say, I'm sorry, sweetie, your dad can't run, but I'll try and walk fast. And her little face, I can still see it if I close my eyes, the way she looked at me. That lit the fire. So I went online on whatever, Facebook and Twitter, I think, and I put a status that says, listen, I'm going to drop 100 pounds this year, and I'm going to donate $1 a pound to my favorite military charity. There's a horse therapy program just outside of my town here that to help veterans and first responders with PTSD.
Okay.
And it's all volunteer run. It's all run by a veteran of 20 years. But in my mind, if I did this, I put myself out there. It kept me accountable. And then if there was days I didn't want to work out, I've been thinking about the veterans and the first responders that they help, and it would fire me up, right? And so I'm like, when I hit my 100 pounds, I'm gonna donate $1 a pound, so $100. And I did that in 12 months. So then I was 292. And when I posted that I hit my goal, 14 people matched me, so that turned into $1,400. Then this lady who's pretty well off matched all of us, then topped it up to $3,000. And then a horse competition company where they host like world championships and stuff saw this post. So they decided to top it up to $25,000.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
So from one little $1 a pound post turned into $25,000 for this program. And so if anyone's listening that's looking to lose some weight, if you're comfortable, just post something like that. It'll keep you accountable to yourself.
And I want to pause on that because I think
Yeah.
that's very valuable. I've never been one. I've never gotten out of shape. Even I was working out in the hospital with a bullet hole in my forehead. It was like grandma workouts because I had wasted away while I was on life support and bedridden. But like once they would monitor me working out and they could get me on like a recumbent bike and I could just work out just a little bit, just enough to where like my blood pressure couldn't do anything crazy. And they give me 5 pound dumbbells and I'm doing squats. Basically, I mean, I was basically getting up and out of a chair. But it was something like that's always been something that's been very important to me. So I can't I think that was definitely ingrained into me through my dad and playing sports growing up and my time in the military. And it's just something that, it's it's non-negotiable in my life. So I can't I'm thankful that I have that discipline in me that I just do that. But for people who struggle with that, I think a lot of times like that accountability is such a critical piece. And like for me, where I can extrapolate that is to getting sober. That was initially early on, like as I started to develop my own internal accountability better with my drinking. It was also if I had a really, really bad craving that I couldn't kick and would normally be something where I'd finally give into it because I was starting to get squirrely and just tired of thinking about drinking for the past, 12 hours. I would tell somebody, just someone that I was really close with, or my girlfriend at the time, or whoever, like, because I would normally disappear. I would order it, disappear, go black out, and then deal with the consequences afterwards. And something about that, having that little tie, I think also serves almost as a bridge for you and like scaffolding for you to come in and build in your own discipline underneath that. And I think that is such a valuable approach that people probably don't think about. And it doesn't have to be a post. You hear some people talking about it being a trainer that they start working with, or again, a workout buddy. But if you struggle with that, and I want to point this question towards you, do you feel obviously early on there was some external accountability, but over time for you, I mean, because that was just the beginning. You losing that 100 pounds was just the beginning. Do you feel like you developed your own intrinsic motivation and discipline over time as a byproduct of doing that?
Well, when I started boxing, because that I feel boxing fixed my mind completely. I have 99% good days now instead of 1%. And when I get anxiety, I know how to deal with it now when it's gone. But boxing, oh my goodness. The first day I walk in there, this boxing club to try it out, this guy's in the ring and he's got 5 titles, right? Like he's a pretty big name in Canada. And he literally stopped his entire workout and came over because I guess maybe he saw my posts. And he took a picture with me and put it on his Instagram and like, let's get this champ. And he called me champ. And
That's like what you think of in a boxing movie. You're like, all
yeah,
right,
he's like,
champ.
let's get,
Yeah.
and it's just stuck with me ever since. So if I'm ever at a gym or if I see someone struggling, I'll just walk over and say, call them champ. Because I know just that one little word, being kind, like this is 6 years later and I still think about it when I'm working out or, I don't think about the
Really?
trolls anymore. It's stuff like that.
Do you, when you say boxing, are you, because there's cardio boxing and kickboxing, and there's like, I'm going in there to learn how to fight. Which one of is those? Is it more the cardio side?
It was more the cardio side. I used to
Okay.
do circuits. They were hour long. And then
Oh
and then
my
I do
God.
and then I do Russian Army boot camps after. So I do like a 2 hour workout. And it was so funny because this one trainer, Brianna, most amazing badass woman I've ever met in my life, has like 2% body fat. Um, so they have these 12 stations, right? Where you go and you do 90 seconds and then the 30 seconds off, but they're 2 minute stations. And she's going through and she's giving the rundown to all the people there. And one of them is running for 2 minutes straight on a treadmill. And I was terrified because I hadn't run since my incident. And
Oh.
right. So I look at her and she looks at me and she's like, yeah, well, I'm like, listen, I can't run. And she's like, she looked at me, she's like, I never want to hear that word out of your mouth again. And the way she looked at me, man, it scared the shit out of me. Like that Marine used to come on Jenny Jones and scare those kids on that talk show,
Yeah.
right? You're going to boot camp. But she made me do it. And I ran for the full 2 minutes. And thankfully it was the last station because I went in the locker room and I just broke down. I'm like, wow, this woman just changed my life. And now I can run maybe for 5 minutes at a time. And then I'll walk 5 minutes like when I'm out. And just people making you believe in yourself. It's incredible.
Yeah, and I think that's important, especially like obviously you were stuck in this mindset of like leaning on that injury almost as a you had this block in your head where like no I can't and like yeah yes you fucking can like it's mental people like whatever it's it's stop and be objective for a second and that I mean she sounds if I was going to have a trainer that sounds like the lady that I would want she just shredded and jacked but so for you I mean this is what you said this initial start and the interaction with the gentleman who helped you move and your daughter being born was 2014ish, right?
Yeah.
So you've made it all the way through this point. I mean, like now you're exercising. How much have you lost now?
Um, I was 392. Now I'm currently 247, but I had gotten down to 220. And then I just stopped weighing myself. I don't weigh myself anymore because of just the way clothes are fitting. I've gone from a size XXXL t-shirt to a large. And my,
Wow. Well,
my
I mean,
pant size was 46 and now I'm 32. So
you lost an entire like, small adult male.
yeah.
Do you, I mean, like your joints, do you even remember what it feels like to be as heavy as you were? I mean, I would imagine every part of your body feels better.
You know what? I got a disruptive bag, and it's like a small heavy bag that you put these sandbags in, and you can do all kinds of crazy workouts with it. But when I'm working out in my basement, I got so hooked, I'm gonna have a home gym.
Yeah.
I'll pick this thing up with 150 pounds in it and just put it on my shoulders and just walk for 2 minutes, and I'm freaking gassed, like sweat. I mean, one of these nights I'm gonna get brave enough just to take it for like a walk around the block with me,
Yeah.
and just remember that I used to carry that. One thing I'll do when I'm in a grocery store, I'll pick up, I'll try and look at like 15, 10-pound bags of potatoes and be like, holy shit, like that's how much weight I lost. If were to try to pick those up and walk around one lap of the store with them, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, you were carrying that around all day, every day. And I mean, outside of the energy expenditure there and the impact of that on your joints, I mean, that is that when you're fat when your fat moves from subcutaneous stores into getting in and around your organs and stuff. I mean, that is where all of the that is where a lot of these horrendous side effects of being obese come from. And like, I mean, I would imagine even like your heart is probably like, thank God, man. Like we're feeling good. We're young. We feel young again. That's just for you. I mean, it sounds, I want to bring this back to that question because it sounds like you've got your own gym and you're doing your own things. Do you feel like having that external accountability, whether it be that post, the trainer, the combination of the two, and these other people coming along, do you feel like you've been able to almost backfill your own discipline there in terms of both fitness and obviously to lose all that weight, you had to get your diet more in line as well. Do you feel like that is now something that is just part of you?
Well, you know, it's funny with the diet. Well, I still treat myself like we still have takeout every couple weeks or whatever, but my biggest meal I enjoy is a good steak and potatoes, and I've never given that up. I mean, I have a good breakfast, I have something for lunch, and I have something normal for dinner. But what I did, because I used to have like two giant plates of dinner for whatever I had, I'd have like three steaks and like, so I just cut that down to one, and then replacing booze with water. Whenever I get hungry and it's in between meals, I just drink water and then it's gone. So
Yeah.
I mean that worked for me. I mean it's not going to work for anybody else. Or you don't know. But yeah, I'll never go back. This August I'll be 3 years without being intoxicated. Um, remember I mentioned the one friend that saw through my shit. Well, back in 2012, this woman was like 4'7", but had the voice of like Adele. Like she was just amazing. So she one night I was at a pub at 1:45 in the morning, and I was so drunk I was playing like a video gambling machine for 45 minutes with no money in it and yelling at this thing because I wasn't winning. But she came over and grabbed me by the arm and took me to a booth and said, "Stay there." So she went over and get a big pot of coffee, 2 cups, and this sweet little woman who I'd never seen mad. She was just the most pleasant, amazing person. She looks at me and she goes, "If you don't smarten the fuck up, you're not going to see 50." And I still think about it. And then 3 years ago on my birthday, she passed away because I was looking for her little birthday greeting. She used to leave and I didn't see it. And that was the last time I was ever drunk, was the day before that. And for me, it sounds a little selfish, but on my birthday now, I'll always think about her and that conversation we had, and I'll never get drunk again.
I don't think that sounds selfish. What and when you're saying because you've said haven't been intoxicated and haven't been drunk, do you still drink? You're just saying like I have like one drink or
You know what? In the last 3 years, I've had about 6 beer in total. Like
okay.
I've gone out with a friend at a pub and I've had one beer, but um, I'm about 6 months right now with nothing. So I'm just trying to give it up completely. But
Yeah.
um, and then people say, well, you can't really say you're sober if you. Well, I don't care. I got nobody to impress. In my mind, I'm sober. I haven't gotten drunk in, right?
Well, and
But
that's why I asked. I was like, I feel like you're using some careful language here, so I was just
yeah, well,
curious.
I
But
just some people are so.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, you're being specific, and that's why I was curious.
For
But
sure, for sure.
with both, I want to, before we move on here, and if you don't want to talk about this, obviously we won't. But did obviously there's a big time gap there. The mother of your daughter was your wife. That falling apart, was that, I mean, when you stop and look back and analyze that, was some of that, was any of that a part of or a byproduct of your struggles? Was it just other things and relationships don't work out?
Um, Only because my daughter sometimes listens to these shows, well, my shows, but she wouldn't have this link. But I can't really go too far into that. But
Okay.
that split up was the best thing that ever happened to me. I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
I think I was in a situation where I was just didn't want to be alone, but then I was gifted with my daughter, and that was the best thing that ever happened to me. So yeah, it was.
Yeah.
People say it's supposed to be such a sad moment, but for me, it was a celebration.
All right. And we'll leave it at that. But I, this brings us to more present day. And I thought it was funny you talking about your post for accountability almost going kind of locally viral, at least. I mean, that absolutely had a huge impact, but you got picked up. CNN picked up your story because you put out a call to try and track down this paramedic who you alluded to earlier that you guys are now back in contact and are friends. What made you want to reach out? I guess was it like, all right, I'm ready to face this other side of these things? I know you wrote your book is a children's book. Was it I processing? Because like in writing my own book, I mean I processed a lot of stuff that I hadn't realized that I hadn't processed yet. Was it some of that little column A, column B? What led to you actually doing that? And then the whirlwind downstream of actually connecting with her again.
Well, for me, it was closure. I wanted to just be done with this and be able to say thank you. So I was trying to look for her, and well, actually, it was two of them, but for about 8 years, every now and then I put up a post with the story and say, "Hey, does anyone know this lady?" and blah, and nothing. So then I went on Twitter, and like this is my last attempt, and I put every detail, and then it had like 8 million reposts or views. And so it started with like my local town was in the paper, and then like CBC, which was kind of like CNN up here, every local CBC picked it up and ran the story. And then it was on, it was just crazy. I was doing interviews left, right, and center. And then this lady's sister heard the interview. And the reason she had never come out as being this paramedic was that she was in an accident where someone was actually, I believe, driving drunk, ran into back of an ambulance when she was working on someone in the back, and she had some pretty severe brain
Oh.
injuries. So her memory was bad. But when I started talking to her and she showed me a picture of herself from that day, like that time in her uniform, and her smile is like permanently implanted in my brain. So my jaw just dropped. And I was like, oh my God, it's you. Because back then, 1994, 2% of all paramedics in Canada were female. So
So
there was
yeah, she
only
was like a
her.
unicorn.
Yeah, it was only her and one other paramedic working that night. So, by process of elimination and what areas they were in, I'm like, wow, this is her. I found her. And she's an artist now. She's a painter. And she did this painting and she sent to me. It's called The Perfect Storm. I have it in my living room and I tap it kind of when I get up in the mornings, like the Notre Dame guys coming out of the
Like
locker.
Rudy.
Yeah. And so it's got a row of sorry, a row of tulips, like a beautiful field, but then there's lightning bolts hitting it. And that's so powerful because that's what PTSD, obviously you don't know this, but everything seems so perfect. You're in like this perfect field and then all of a sudden, boom, the lightning hits or something triggers and you turn into this, you know, dark monster.
Yeah. And
So her and
I
I mean, you know, sometimes you have the chase friends or you send a text and you don't hear back from them for days. Well, her and I haven't gone a day without texting in 2.5 years.
that's wild.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys, I would imagine she's, even if you guys had never connected, she couldn't forget that night. I mean, no telling how many other incidences she's been in where she saved somebody's life, but you know, that's a very a stabbing like that is different than responding to car accidents every day.
Yeah. She was my first female guest I had on. I had a veteran on for my first show on my podcast, but I made sure she was my first guest on there. And just that chat her and I had, I didn't even feel like, you know, it was just, you feel like you're talking to your earth angel pretty much. It was so surreal and powerful. I'll go back and watch it. It's the only episode I've watched back. I'll put it on my TV and just listen to her because she is so just amazing.
Is it just comforting to listen
Yeah.
to? So today, where are you at today? With we've covered you've it feels like you've come full circle, and it's I guess it makes sense to me. Like, you know, I asked, okay, did you lose this? You just seem like such a kind person, and it's hard for me to kind of imagine you not being in that place. And it sounds like you never lost that, but like this struggling, you've kind of come full circle. You've gotten your life back on track. You're not drinking, and you've gotten started taking care of yourself physically as well. And I mean, if you're having 99% good days, you've done the work on the mental side of you as well.
Well, and you know,
What's
doing these shows and just talking to regular people and people that have been through the same shit, it's so powerful. But this last 5 months, my life has changed so much. The children's book that I wrote about PTSD, it's essentially about a little fox that he's afraid of coyotes. So it's me with the Somalians. And then I won't post a spoiler alert, but so he gets stuck in a fox trap and these coyotes come and they come and save his life. And to me, this amazing woman, her name is Amanda. So she doesn't have kids, but she's been through some shit for like 20 years and she's lost 200 pounds. She left a review on this book that was the most powerful thing I've ever read in my life. And I'm in a little town of 3,800 people. So I just see this Amazon review pop up. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I should reach out and say hi to her. Her name is there. And we start talking, and she lives like 2 streets over from me in this little tiny town. And so we went for a coffee and yada, yada, yada. We've been dating 5 months, and
oh yeah.
she's given me so much confidence. Like I used to play guitar and sing. That was and I stopped when all this happened. So then 4 months ago, the music director at my church gifted me like a really nice guitar. He's like, I want this guitar to have a good home. So I started playing. I just started singing. And so she says to me, you should post the video online and of you singing. I'm like, no, no, no. Because I had no self-confidence when it came to that, just from past thing.
Yeah.
So I went on like a live TikTok open mic and I played a song that I wrote with my camera off. And all these people were like, you know, these comments were like, just blew my mind. So the biggest life changer for me was about 3 weeks ago. I don't know if you've heard the song Hard Fought Hallelujah by Brandon Lake and Jelly Roll.
Nope.
Okay, but it's a pretty powerful song. And I don't get into religion or politics on my shows or any shows, but she asked me to get up and play this song and sing at a church event. It's just like a concert with 150 people. And I'd never played or sang guitar sober before. Like I go to karaoke and I have to like 5 or 6 drinks to get up.
Yeah, so you got some more courage than
Right, you
you
got to
would
get the
normally have.
courage. So I'm waiting for this program. I'm like the last singer. I did it. I'm about to pass out. My legs are shaking. Everything is just vibrating. I get up and I sing this song. And it's just jaws are wide open because people have known me 4 years and I hide in the back corner when I go to church. Because in my mind, someone still could jump me from behind, even though it's a church, probably the safest place in the world, but you never know. But I
Yeah.
got up there in front of all these people, just so raw, and I sang the song, and all these people are coming up to me after saying, "Why are you hiding your talent?" I'm like, I wasn't hiding my talent, I was hiding. And I put this video online, and it has 22,000 views in 3 weeks, and it's impacting people. So then 2 days ago, I wrote a song about PTSD called "The Monster," and some pretty powerful words. I'll send you an audio note of it after if you want to have a listen. But
Yeah, I'd love to.
people are reaching out to me from this song from all over the world, man. I've got a police officer that, he had to take someone's life to save someone, and he's like, man, that song, it was like you were singing my life. And I found a whole new direction, just writing and singing instead of just doing podcast shows to try and inspire people. And I don't know, man, I'm so addicted. It's
Well, and that's all taken place since you and I spoke last. I
yeah,
mean, that's
yeah, oh
so
yeah,
cool, man. I love that. I mean, it feels like every time that we've talked, and again, we've only been in contact for 2 or 3 months here.
yeah.
It's like you've kind of found almost like another branch to start traveling down. And I love it. Like whenever you talk about it, you always sound excited about it. And I love that. And I just, I'm excited for you. But tell everyone the name of your podcast.
My podcast is the Unsung Podcast. It's just basically regular people. I mean, I've had Zach on. We had a great chat. I was telling him how good we looked because he wasn't able to see us, and I wore a nice shirt. And I'm like, then I thought, oh, okay, well, hey, no, just regular people from all over the world. I had a guy on that was a 3-time powerlifting world champion that's defeated cancer twice. Just and then when I talked to Zach and the stuff he's done, um, just talking to you that episode made me take a long look at myself too about some of the things I bitch about. And the other night I was having a leg cramp, and I'm like, I thought about our episode. I'm like, man, this guy's like blind and he's doing jiu-jitsu and rock climbing, and what the hell am I bitching about? And it's so therapeutic doing these episodes.
There's so many interesting people out there, man. I mean, you and I had this conversation offline too, where it's like I think we're both kind of hooked on it. I mean, it's the time investment is tremendous. It's absolutely more than I really had. There's a lot more to it than I had considered, even with researching having a podcast before I started one. But it is so worth it. I love getting on and doing these things, man, and I look forward to them. And I have them coming up. I will look forward to it all week.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one really cool story. It's kind of a side project I started 8 weeks ago. So on TikTok Live, there's so many musicians, and if I'm ever having a night, I'll just go on there and just scroll and listen to them playing live, and it's so soothing. So I started this every Sunday at 5 o'clock Eastern. We do it. It's a mental health open mic, and where people can come up, they can play a song, they can read a poem, they can just talk about their shit. And so week one, this girl comes on. She's an amazing singer, but she's terrified of how she looks. She's a bigger girl, so she's very self-conscious. So whenever she sings, her camera's off. So then week two, she comes up to sing a song. She has the camera on for her introduction, but then turns it off when she sings. Last Sunday, she came up. She had written a song. Our little show inspired her to write a song called "Merry-Go-Round" about her mental health. And she kept her camera on the whole time,
No way.
like the whole performance. And now when she comes in there, her camera is on. She doesn't give a shit anymore what anybody thinks. She's written these songs about her mental health, and I've gotten a lot of guests from the show for the show too. I'm doing like anyone that's written songs about mental health or struggling, I'm having them on, and we're just having a chat about each song. And it's so funny because you watch these people live and they look so happy, but you never realize, like, this one guy, he's on there laughing and just playing these funny songs every Sunday, but yet he's just came out last week and said he has a heroin addiction and he doesn't know So it's, I don't know, it started as a little open mic, but it's getting so powerful. It's, I don't know, it's like a mental health AA meeting kind of thing. It's amazing.
Well, and obviously that confidence that that woman has gained from being on there, I guarantee you is carrying over into other aspects of her life.
Oh yeah, for sure. And even my girlfriend said when she looks at her now and there, it's like she's got a light in her now, and it was right. She got a light shining.
Yeah, she just needed to be validated. And,
Yeah.
people, especially when people are going through stuff and everybody's going through stuff, sometimes people just need that to help kind of nudge them along in that process. And I love that. So you got the Unsung podcast. You're working on this. The name of your book is Into the Heart of the Forest, correct?
Yeah, there's two. Me and my daughter wrote
Oh,
one. So that whole moment I talked about when she wanted to race me home, and then we did a first 5 kilometer race together, 2 years later after I lost all that weight.
yeah.
So we wrote a book about that, and it's called The Great Race, My Daddy and Me. But the most amazing story from that book, like it hasn't sold a lot, I don't care, but I'm all about impact, right? This guy, so he was a veteran in uh somewhere in Tennessee, but he was 480 pounds, and he had two twin daughters.
He must have been in the Air Force.
It was Navy actually.
Oh, same. Yeah. Okay.
They call it the chair force up here. But
Yeah, well, I do too. My dad was in the chair force, so yep,
no, but the
absolutely.
crazy thing was, so he was the same as me, right? He had PTSD, he started drinking and blew up. And then, but the same weekend that my daughter and I did our first 5 kilometer, he did one with his twin's daughter, and he's dropped 280 pounds.
Which is so insane. He lost two small
Yeah.
men. It's like,
So him and I, we talk a couple times a week. Like we become close friends through my book as well. And yeah, it's all about impact, man. I just love hearing that stuff is touching people and these songs and writing and recording. It's I'm
yeah,
turning into Gene Simmons of mental health here. It's kind of a bit of
yeah.
thing,
I
right?
love that though, man. I mean, you're helping other people through this stuff, whether directly or indirectly, and people hearing these conversations are, you know, people can heal and learn from that too. I mean, that's the whole point of, I think, why both of us have these conversations. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And it's because it is when it's in a format like this where you're listening, you can extrapolate, even though it's not necessarily, yeah, there's probably not anyone else listening who got jumped by three Somalis and got stabbed 13 times and almost died. But through some of the other experiences that have come along throughout the timeline since, they can draw a parallel to their own life. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So
It is. It is.
we got the podcast, we got the two books. Where else can people find you?
I'm pretty Google, like with the CNN thing and Fox and Yahoo. I mean, my name is pretty Google. You put it in the Google and
It comes
pretty easy to
out.
find. So just my name, Dave Murr, and then YYC. That's my old town's airport code. But I'm pretty. That's me on everywhere. So if you're on TikTok and want to come by the live and say hi or just sing a song or um yeah, I'm pretty easy guy to find.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for coming on and being vulnerable and share. I mean, I'm sure it probably took you a long time to get to where you could talk about this. I mean, it's a lot, but again, I think that it's going to help someone. So just thank you for doing that and being willing to do that, and through helping other people explore the things that they're struggling with all of your projects.
Yeah. If anyone's out there struggling, my only advice is just to talk to someone. If it's anyone, just send anyone a message. And um, for a lot of years, I thought I had no one, and there was people that just didn't know that I was, had anything going on. So it's not going to make you weak. It'll be the best thing you ever did.
Yep. And I think I've probably beat the dead horse on that here, where like it is okay to not be okay. It is not okay to not do anything about it. And that's that fine line that you have to walk, and realizing that you're not okay. And have the courage to speak up. I mean, me not speaking up is what got me to the point where I shot myself in the face. I think that's probably gotten a lot of people to that point. And you can save yourself and other people will help save you, but they have to know that you need saving. So speak up. And thanks again, Dave.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks everyone at home for listening to another episode of Going In Blind. Remember, if you haven't, please take a second and rate and review the show in whatever podcasting app you use to listen to this episode, and then share it around with someone who needs to hear it.